see everybody back here for another season here. We appreciate all the coverage that you guys provide, not just to our sport, but all the sports here in Temple. So thank you for that.
It's the most wonderful time of year when basketball season overlaps with football season.
One season is in the home stretch, while the others are in the opening stretch.
And I'm Jake Holsauer live at the Temple Sports Complex, and I have the story of the Temple team that made the playoffs. Our Sports Update is live, and it starts right now.
It's the start of November, and that means some fall teams are getting ready for the postseason, while other winter teams are just getting underway. Hello and welcome to OwlSports Update. I'm Gabriel Linington.
And I'm Natalie Koranda. Cross country finished its postseason this past weekend, while field hockey and soccer are on the road for do-or-die matchups. But we start with new beginnings for both basketball teams. This was the setup for opening night on Monday. In the doubleheader at the Liacouras Center, both the men and women started off their seasons, but only one team got to celebrate its first win. The men started the night with Sacred Heart, and then the women took on Richmond for a solid 6 hours or so of college hoops.
For the first time this season, into the Liacouras Center we go. Temple facing Sacred Heart. The newcomer from New Mexico came to dominate. Jamal Mashburn lit up Liacouras Center, leading all scorers with 26, but it was a slow start for the Owls. They found themselves down by 10 early on in this one. Temple was looking for scoring and turned to the fifth year Mashburn, and he started this one piping hot. The Owls surge and cash 3 consecutive shots beyond the arc, starting an 11-2 run, giving the Owls a 37-36 lead into the half. Coming out of the locker room, the Pioneers had the hot hand and built up a 52-46 lead with 12 minutes and 34 seconds remaining. But again, Temple started draining it from deep with 4 tray balls and a 17-3 run that gave the Owls the lead. Sacred Heart kept it close, down by 4 with 2 minutes and 52 seconds remaining, but the Cherry and White were clinical at the line to finish up the game with 6 free throws in the final minute. Temple win 81-70.
Tough, gritty win, right? None of these are easy. But I'm really proud of the resilience of our team. When you add 10 new faces, you're going to see some hiccups and some things through the way, but I thought our guys stuck together. I thought we had a good mixture of the returners stepping up and some new faces. Provided some great things here tonight. So proud of us, and we want to protect home court. We're going to talk about it a lot this year, so we're happy to do that. And we got to get back and clean up some things before we get ready for our next game, and then we get ready for practice on Wednesday.
Next up for the Owls, a drive to Trenton for the Jersey Jam on Friday to face Monmouth. Shortly after, the Cherry and White will be heading back to Broad to face City 6 rival Drexel on Sunday.
Now on to the women's side. For the season opener, the Owls took on the reigning Atlantic 10 tournament champs. Richmond was in town. It was a hot start for the Spiders as they crept past the Owls twice to get the first 6 on the board, both from Katie Hill. But the Owls had a quick response. Temple scored 11 straight, and it wasn't until almost halfway through the period that the Spiders would score again. That was Kayla Turner with 2. Both teams went back and forth in the last 5 minutes, ending the period with Richmond ahead by 5. And moving into the second, Richmond's Sam Dewey puts another one in, and the Spiders are widening the gap 27-18. The Owls remain down by double digits well into the third quarter. With about 7:30 left, graduate Terriana Gary sinks one in, and in the fourth, she ended up being the last to score for the Owls in this opener. The Owls got caught in the Spiders' web, and Richmond dominated the last minute and 30 seconds, scoring the final 8 points to secure the win, 77-72.
The first half was tough. We didn't rebound the ball well at all. And then the second half was like we woke up and we outscored them, we out-rebounded them, we outplayed them in the second half. But again, we can't dig a hole like that. You know, the starting 5 with the mixture of the newcomers and, you know, the 7 worked well together. They're still learning each other, but I think they did well together. They did exactly what, we expected them to do. I just think that we could have been more aggressive defensively.
The Owls have an 8-day break until Game 2. They will make a quick trip to visit the Delaware Blue Hens for an out-of-conference matchup next Tuesday. Tip-off is at 6:30 in Newark.
There is a lot of optimism surrounding Temple basketball this season. Both teams took some big steps last year, with the men making a run in the postseason tournament and the women sharing the regular season title. OwlSports Update's Emma Nolan was at the opener on Monday and takes a look at the atmosphere on opening night.
It's that time of year again at the Liacouras Center. Basketball season is back. Monday night, Temple basketball hosted its season openers in a doubleheader for both the men's and the women's teams. And it had everything fans have come to expect. The cheer squad, dance team, and pep band performing in the stands, sidelines, and on the court. But with a new season comes new faces, and the biggest among them is Jamal Mashburn Jr. The preseason all-conference pick made his debut as an Owl in Temple's win over Sacred Heart.
It felt good just to get a win and just come out here and just play hard. I'm always ready to score, ready to pass, make a play, ready to play defense, whatever I got to do to get a win. So
I don't think he had any idea how many points he had tonight. He's happy that we got the win, and I'm excited that he's in our program.
At tonight's action-packed home opener, impressive plays and performances set the tone for the rest of the men's and women's 2024-2025 season. Despite the women's loss, as the stadium clears out behind me, Temple fans all around are leaving with high hopes for the rest of the season.
It's encouraging to know that we can play. They know now in the locker room that our second half was the way we need to play basketball.
The women's team lost 4 out of its 5 starters from last season, so Monday's game was the perfect opportunity to introduce some new players to the game, including Amaya Oliver, who scored 14 points for the
The
Owls.
thing with our newcomers is they are really, really good players, and that's why we recruited them, but they don't need to defer. They need to just go ahead and do what they need to do.
Whether you're repping the Owls for the men's team, the women's team, or both, the Liacouras Center is the place to be this season. Reporting from the Liacouras Center, I am Emma Nolan, OwlSports Update.
A season-opening split of Temple basketball. And here to talk about it, it's our football guy turned basketball.
Current Inside the Nest host and former Courts in Session host Hayden Vandell is on the desk to talk hoops. Hayden, thanks for joining us.
Guys, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Now to start off, Hayden, let's talk some preseason polls. Now on the men's side, the Owls were picked to finish 6th out of 13. Coming off of a surprising win to the AAC Championship, where do you see this season heading?
Yeah, I think people forget that last year, Temple was 8 games under 500 in conference play, and then they go on that magical run out of that you're referring to. But I think this year, I think Temple's going to be able to win most of their conference games, whether it's at home or on the road, right? This is a team that they brought in a lot of good transfers. Jamal Mashburn especially, he is going to be that guy, especially on the offensive end. We saw it on Monday night against Sacred Heart, right? 26 points in his Temple debut. Now, he did a lot of it via the three-pointer. I don't think he's going to be able to keep that up, but I think he showed that he's that guy. Even in a game where Temple is kind of down late in the second half, he was able to take over, right? 5 of 7 from beyond the arc. This is the guy who was a 32% shooter last year at New Mexico. So for him to just take over that game, it really shows that he's going to be their key guy.
Yeah, he's just been playing crazy. But now on to the women. The Owls were picked to finish 8th out of 13. They finished the regular season 20-12, but lost many of their starters. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think they're going to take a step back, Gabe, right? They were the regular season co-conference champions last year. And I think they're going to take a step back mainly because they're losing a lot of their experience, right? Girls like Aaliyah Nelson, like Demi Washington, they're gone. They're graduated. Now you have girls like Jalissa Molina and Tristan Taylor who really didn't start at all last year. Not a single game was started by them. You have 3 freshmen coming off the bench who didn't play last year. Anissa Rivera is also playing now as well.
Well, Hayden, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Guys, thanks for having me.
And you'll be able to catch Hayden back on the desk on Tuesdays with Sam Cavone, talking all about football on Inside the Nest, live at noon on TUTV. The field hockey team has been a bright spot in Temple athletics this fall. The Owls were ranked as high as 19 in October, but after a 3-game losing streak, the Owls needed to get back on track this weekend and add some more wins to their record as they gear up for the Big East tournament. Back at home, and we know this is where the Cherry and White thrive. The Owls were looking to remain undefeated, trying to continue their 7-game home winning streak against Quinnipiac. Elise Mays was the first to get on the board. Peyton Reiger cuts down the right wing and delivers a perfect feed into the mixer for Mays to get the clinical finish into the bottom left. Mays was able to get her 5th and 6th goal of the season, tying Tess Muller and Devon Kinsel for the team lead. With a win at the sports complex, the Owls grabbed the number 2 seed in the upcoming conference tournament. Temple dominated offensively. The Owls outshot the Bobcats 14-6 in this one. Temple beats Quinnipiac 2-1.
And 2 days later, the final matchup of the regular season against Lehigh at home. Plus, it was senior day, and all 7 seniors started. Going straight to the last minute of the half, Devon Kinsel puts one in to close it out. This was Kinsel's 7th goal of the season. Lehigh never found the cage, so Temple up by 1 moving into the second. The Owls kept it so tight that Lehigh wasn't able to sneak by for the rest of the matchup. Jenny Canoni did have 3 saves, but Tess Muller passed to Elise Mays to take the open shot, and it made it through. This was Mays' 7th goal of the season and ended up being the last in the match. This was Temple's 11th win of the season, the final score 2-0. Now they're on to the postseason. The Owls travel to Providence, Rhode Island for the Big East tournament and for some deja vu. Last season, the number 3 seeded Owls hosted the championship and fell to the 2 seed Old Dominion. This time, it's flipped. The Cherry and White have the number 2 spot while ODU sits in number 3. The Owls already defeated Old Dominion this season with its perfect record at home, and both teams have 11 victories under their belts. Number 1 UConn will play number 4 Liberty, and the championship game will be held on Sunday at 1.
The Big East tournament is here, and Temple Field Hockey is looking to make a run. It's impossible to win without a strong goaltender in the postseason, and Isabella Ospitale has been that person for the Owls. OwlSport Updates' Xavier Adams has more.
Big-time games require big-time players.
Number 16, Isabella Ospitale.
And with the Big East tournament right at the door, Temple Field Hockey will be needing to rely on their stars, which they have plenty of. Perhaps none have been more vital this year than junior goalkeeper Bella Ospitale, whose nationally ranking gameplay has set her apart for this Owls team.
You're kind of like a rock in the net, and you really are like an anchor, and you want to make sure that everyone else in front of you is can hear you loud and follow directions.
Ospitale has proven herself to be an absolute anchor for this Owls team, and for her efforts, she's being recognized nationally. She's currently ranked as having a top 30 goalie win percentage, a top 20 save percentage, and a top 10 goal against average. The Owls will no doubt be looking to rely on her dominant presence as the season ends and as they begin to prepare for the Big East tournament.
Having Bella behind me, telling me things, telling the team things, so I don't have to do all by myself. Knowing that if I do my job, I know she'll do hers, so I don't have to do 5 jobs at once.
Bella's just wonderful. She, obviously has been playing very, very well, but she's also just like a great, positive, competitive person. And I think she, they have a lot of trust in her behind them. So I just think it's a good just connection for them.
The Owls know the postseason won't be easy. But with players like Ospitale on their side, they are sure to be more confident in their chances. Reporting from Howarth Field, I'm Xavier Adams, OwlSports Update.
We are now up against our second break of the show, but stay in your seats.
When we return, we'll be speaking about both kinds of football, the real stuff and the American stuff.
And big news coming from the men's soccer team. I'm Jake Holzhauer, live with OwlSports Update at the Temple Sports Complex. The Owls are postseason bound. They secured their final spot of the playoffs in the final game of their season. I've got the playoff bracket. Stay tuned on OwlSports Update. We'll see you in 90 seconds.
Back, the Owls were on the road at Tulsa Friday night at the Hurricane Soccer Complex. They needed a win to clinch a spot in the AAC playoffs. Temple's backline was firm and consistent, denying multiple Tulsa chances through the first 15. Then, with 30 seconds left in the first half, Temple hits the back of the twine, but it's called off with a foul on the Cherry and White. Second half, Nathan Brown draws a foul just outside the box. This isn't how Temple drew it up, but they'll take it. A colossal error for Tulsa as a deflection sails into the back of the net. Temple is unbeaten in its last 5 matches. The Owls beat Tulsa 1-0.
With a 1-0 win over Tulsa, the men's soccer team has qualified for the AAC championships for the first time since the 2020-2021 season. With a look at the postseason bracket, OwlSports Update's Jake Holzhauer is live at the Temple Sports Complex. Hey, Jake.
Hey guys, yes, it has almost been 3 years since the men's soccer team has made a playoff appearance. They missed last season by only 1 point on the final game of the regular season. Two big contributors for the men's soccer team this year are two graduating seniors, Andrew Kempe and Kamali Green. Andrew Kempe has only let up 6 goals all season long, which is the lowest since 2012. Kamali Green has been a brick wall in defense all year. And did I mention that both players won AAC Honors of the Week for defense last week? Moving on to the bracket, taking a look, we see that Temple is the 6th spot that will be taking on the 3rd seeded Charlotte Friday at 7 p.m. in Charlotte. The Owls lost to Charlotte earlier this season to open up conference play. The winner will take on UCF. On the other side of the bracket, FAU is facing FIU, where the winner takes on Memphis. The championship will be held on November 16th on ESPN+. Well, guys, that is all we have for soccer. Reporting from the Temple Sports Complex, I'm Jake Holzhauer. Back to you guys in the studio.
Now it's back to business. The Owls are coming out of their second bye week of the season and will travel to Yulman Stadium to face Tulane. The Owls haven't surfed the green wave since 2020 season. In that matchup, Tulane won by a landslide. The final score 38-3. And this Saturday could be a tough one as well. The Green Wave has won 6 straight and undefeated in the AAC. Meanwhile, the Owls ride into New Orleans trying to snap a nation's worst 18-game road losing streak. Kickoff is set for 4 and will air on ESPNU.
Temple's season is winding down with just 4 games to go. They match up against second in the conference Tulane in New Orleans on Saturday. Then the Owls fly back home to the Link on the 16th to go against bottom of the table Florida Atlantic with the home crowd behind them. In the following weeks, the Cherry and White will be heading over to San Antonio on the 22nd. And then to round out the season, Temple finishes at home over Thanksgiving weekend against North Texas.
It is now time for our second break of the show. When we return, we have a recap of cross country's latest meet.
Plus some Broad Street banter. We'll explain when we return in just 90 seconds. Welcome back. On Friday afternoon, Temple's cross-country team competed in the 2024 American Athletic Conference Championship at Wichita State. The men's team finished in 3rd place, while the women's team came in 13th. For the men's team, Graham Thomas came in 13th place at 24 minutes 41.8 seconds, while Octave Frenroy came in 17th place 24 minutes 52.9 seconds. For the women, Amelia Sabatino came in 74th place at 23 minutes 58.7 seconds, while Emma Kate Watts came in 81st place at 24 minutes 8.5 seconds.
Gabriel and I are one show away from our last show of the semester, so we wanted to discuss some of our favorite players from this fall.
It's a little something we like to call Broad Street banter. Natalie has her pick, I have mine, so let's get into it.
Now for my pick for my favorite athlete this fall is none other than Maddox Trulio. The redshirt senior made history in Game 4 against Utah State with the longest field goal kicked in Division I college football over the last 16 years at 64 yards. Not only did he nail the longest in AAC history, it was also the longest field goal kicked at Lincoln Financial Field. He was the talk of the town for a while after, as he made headlines, gained the nickname Automatics, and was even on t-shirts. To add to his resume, he also hit another 60-yarder against UConn 2 games later, which made him the 3rd player in the NCAA history to hit 2 60-yarders in the same season. And just a few weeks ago, he was named Mid-Season All-American by Reese's Senior Bowl.
Now, Trulio's been playing out of his mind, yes. But he's the obvious pick. My pick is freshman Sydney Jones. Despite the disappointing season so far for the Owls, she has been playing amazingly for the volleyball team. First of all, she can jump out the gym, and it shows on the score sheet. She had a season-high 25 kills last month against Binghamton. Pair that with a 6'2" frame and she can hit over any block. Every game she's played in, she's started, and every game she makes an impact. She's already second on the team in kills behind grad star Taylor Davenport. Now, I just don't know what more you can ask for from a freshman.
No, that was a good one, I will say, but that's all the time we have for this edition of Broad Street Banter.
But 2 weeks from today, during Natalie and my last show, we will have our final picks to finish the semester.
It is now time for our final break of the show. When we return, an inside look at someone who literally makes the athletes look game ready.
We will hear Temple's Director of Equipment Operations will fluff and fold in 90 seconds.
Welcome back. While every athlete's primary focus during game time is performance, there's one person who makes sure these Temple Owls look good while playing well. It's time to meet Temple's Director of Equipment Operations.
I've just memorized it because I've done it so many times of where everybody is, and I just kind of hang them in their lockers like this.
You ever wonder where the athletes go to get ready for game day? Here we are getting an inside look at all the hard work that goes into getting them ready from somebody with over a decade of experience.
My name is Elizabeth DeFelice. So here I'm the Director of Equipment Operations.
It's a short title with a laundry list of responsibilities. Elizabeth manages all 19 varsity teams, which includes around 550 athletes. Everything from picking out the uniforms to cleaning them to packing them for road trips.
So most of the time it's like 7:30, and then I'm leaving around 6:30 sometimes. It just depends on the day and who has practice and when they have practices. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, but it's pretty chill and cool.
DeFelice shuttles back and forth between Pierce and McGonigal Hall and the Temple Sports Complex, which is about a half mile down the road. And it's here where she spends the most amount of time.
So usually like the night before, I'll prep the uniforms on one of these hanging racks just so it's easier to like bring in there. So I just try to grab a couple at a time.
The workflow is very involved, but after a decade at Temple, DeFelice has it down to a science.
I've just memorized it because I've done it so many times.
As you might imagine, Elizabeth does have a bit of downtime, and it comes during game time.
Like I usually hang out in the shed during the game, just so again, I'm like on the sideline, but I'm not out there all the way, but I'm in view. So if they need something during the game, I'm also very accessible.
They know where to find you.
They do know.
And after game time, it's back to work in her office, which isn't a traditional workspace. This is where the magic happens.
Yeah, so at the end of the game, I'll bring my little laundry cart in here. I'll throw it in. These are the washers. You just throw it in, press some buttons, and you're done because the laundry detergent is already connected.
And it's not just organizing and cleaning uniforms. Elizabeth also designs at least 2 uniforms for all of the athletes across 18 teams. And do you have an off season?
No. Kind of summer, I guess, but summer is also when all the Nike stuff starts arriving for that year. So we're just getting truckloads of boxes in, and my gym that I use in McGonigal is just filled. That's another cool part, to just see their faces when they get to see the gear. Like volleyball also had a video because we gave Jordans out this year, and they were like the most excited people for that shoes.
So many hours, so many responsibilities for so many teams and athletes, but it's all so worth it.
Having those relationships with the athletes and being around them, and I get to watch them play their game every day. Shin guard.
You can catch updates of field hockey at the Big East and men's soccer and all other matchups this weekend on social at OwlSports Update.
On behalf of our crew, I'm Gabriel Linington and she's Natalie Koranda. Thanks for tuning in and have a great weekend. Wayo.